All right, welcome. This is one of the few times that you will actually see me on camera, at least until the very near future, because stuff is happening. I'm here at Gamescom in the Paradox booth. I'm done with my long ass shift working in television, so now it's time to do a little bit of recording here in the booth. Now, today's going to be a little bit special. Today we're going to be looking at the Tantalus version of Stellaris, the console edition to be specific. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, the version that we're going to be playing is 1.7. Now, 1.7 is interesting because it's pre-Chopek, that means it's pre-Synthetic Dawn, which means it's the Utopia version of the game. And it's patch only, none of the expansions are currently attached to it, which is pretty cool. We're going to be mostly looking at the way the UI shapes up and how the game itself feels, which is... well, let's put it this way. I've had about 10 minutes with the game itself, and I've got some impressions already. But, yeah, we're going to be playing through and get a general idea of how the game performs, but also how it feels, obviously, because that's kind of important. This game, for me, is mostly catered to the console crowd, those that do not own a PC and that want to get that couch experience with a grand strategy game. I myself will most likely not really venture all that much into the console sphere when it comes to our games. And of course, playing with 2.1.2 basically means that I'm a little bit spoiled, and yeah, I could never go back to 1.7. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's go into Stellaris, the console edition.
So, here we are, the main menu for Stellaris Console Edition, built by a third-party company called Tantalus that also did the city skylines build. Let's have a quick look here at our settings and see what is available. There's a slew of localizations available on this particular build, which is always nice. A bunch of row cam rotation stuff, inverted axes and all that stuff. Autosave, which personally I kind of turn off unless it's like every few years and that sort of thing. The tutorial, which I don't need to use, but I will turn it on for shits and giggles. Then there's pop-ups and stuff like that, which are kind of important, so we'll leave it at that. Anyway, let's take a look at the controls that are also available. Different control screens, different ones for different nations and stuff like that. So we've got things like, for instance, the Japanese one. We can have an inverted control scheme. We can have the city's control scheme, etc., which is kind of cool. And of course, we can also completely change them if you want to as well, so do some customization on that. So as you can see, there's the triangle bottom at the bottom here that resets all values, and of course there's the music system and all that stuff, so always good. Let's dive into a game and see how things are looking here within Stellaris. As you can see, the UI is definitely different. So let's select an empire here. Actually, tell you what, let's go into the empire customization. I think that will be a lot more effective, and then basically see what the UI looks like in that. Well, in the meantime, we obviously have all these standard AI empires that are available in the game, which is of course kind of cool. All right, let's go and randomize it. Let's go and create a new empire. All right, so appearance, I think that's fairly straightforward. One thing that you will notice as well is that there's a bunch of really weird stuff going on here when it comes to loading the icons. There you go. Obviously, the way graphics are handled on the PlayStation 4, which is the system that we're playing this on, is a little bit different than on PC. So all that stuff is all preloaded on PC, whereas with PlayStation it looks a little bit different. So let's make a species. So this is our interface when it comes to making any sort of text-related stuff. So let's turn that off, I guess. Let's turn it off. Yeah, turn it off would work as well. Space. We can just use a triangle for that, but I'm not really used to all this stuff. Alright, let's R2 it. Cool. Plural. I kind of don't want to go through the entire menu again, and sadly there doesn't appear to be any copy-pasting stuff going on there, so yeah, let's just randomize this. I think that'd be better. There we go. Sildor. Rihinar. Yeah, that'll do. Cool. Let's go for that and look through the rest of the stuff that's available. Name lists, pretty standard. Prefixes, all that stuff. With this UI, this obviously the keyboard stuff feels a little bit clunky, but that's to be expected. Racial traits, all that stuff, is pretty cool. Pretty standard, to be honest. That's also in the main game. Obviously, this is a 1.7 version of the game, so there's a little bit of differences in balance compared to 2.2 or 2.1.2, actually. Ruler stuff, this is all straightforward. Let's actually play. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff here. Homeworld stuff, pretty straightforward. Don't think we need to mess around too much with that. Empire, this is kind of cool, actually. This is different. They don't. This build does not have the wheel of ethics. Basically, they just have counterparts of what is available. So militaristic and pacifistic are opposed to each other, and spiritualists and materialists and all that stuff are opposed to each other, which makes perfect sense. And I actually kind of like this layout better than the wheel layout that we have in the PC version. Then there's the civics, of course. They're not nearly as balanced. There are less of them. There's the completely broken agrelic idyllic. This is cool. The weapon stuff, starting weapons, they are different, obviously, because in 2.0 they were all merged as one starting system. You can just get any of them, which is cool. Alright, let's just select ourselves an empire and go for the Commonwealth of Man. Game details, this is all very similar. Sizes, spiral, if you have a large galaxy you can get 4 arms. Empires, advanced starts. I like that in this particular build the amount of habitable worlds is set to max, but let's just set it to 2 for funsies, difficulty and all that stuff. Iron Man mode is here for that sweet achievement stuff. So let's dive in. I like how the Leviathan's loading screen is here, even though Leviathan's is definitely not part of this build. And yeah, our starting screen. How very cool.
Good day.
Let's turn you off here.
I am Veer.
So here is the new icon in the center of the screen. The icon that basically is our select cursor. We don't have a cursor in the game due to the way controls work on the PlayStation. And yeah, basically we have to move the camera itself in order to select something. So basically what happens there is, yeah, we can just move stuff around as per cursor, which is really cool. And I talked to the developers and they spent quite a lot of time on the cursor to find stuff out. Same thing with the controls. Everything is stick driven. I think everything is inverted at the moment. So let's have a quick look here. Inverted y-axis. Maybe that fixes this. Hold on, it seems a bit wonky. No, it's still inverted. Okay, it's a little bit annoying because of the ridiculous amounts of customization you have. I'm playing on a system right now that was used by several other journalists before. Not that I'm calling myself a journalist, but you get the general idea there. So inverting y-axis does not seem to work. So a bit of customization stuff here. That's something that you can do yourself as well if you decide to pick this up. So let's go back into settings. Maybe the console pickup is a little bit different here. Let's yeah, interesting. No, that doesn't do anything. Okay, controls. Oh, they're reversed. Of course. Let's go back to default. I think that'll be fine. But yeah, here's the menu with all the controls on it. Fairly straightforward. Everything's customizable. That's a lot better. Cool. So, let's start out here. So, for those of you who have played standard Stellaris, this UI is rather interesting. Everything is basically set up here. We got energy credits, minerals, all that stuff, with the tooltips all being enabled, and I'm controlling this with the top of the D-pad. Food, unity, influence, all that stuff. Science as well, which is rather cool. That's the size of the icons is kind of silly to me, but it's probably necessary for a system that is designed to be played on a television instead of a computer monitor. Directly controlled systems, strategic resources, naval capacity. All the boys are here. Let's go through some of the other stuff. Let's go through the government screen. This is all fairly straightforward. It's just a UI that's completely been rebuilt to have a lot more tooltips in it, as you can see. Every single item on the right side has full tooltip support because in the PC version you need to hover over with the cursor. So it needs to have its place. Government, same thing here. Reformation is not really an option right now. But the sheer amount of selectable stuff is kind of crazy. I really hope that they're going to do some streamlining here for the final console build. The tooltip menu on the right side is actually kind of cool because it keeps track of what our main expenditures and incomes are. And it's actually very visible, something that is not always the case on the PC version. So the developers actually, or at least the porting team, did a really good job in showing what is available for who, what, where, and how. And where are these bonuses coming from here, for instance, on the demographic screen. So Beauclair is generating additional minerals, which is kind of helpful. Contacts menu is definitely streamlined. Situation log, victory conditions, not that you would ever look at that. Research. As you can see, the research buttons are huge. Quantum theory, I guess. That'd be fine. Assigning researchers. Like, a lot of this stuff is in the PC build of the game as well, of course. But, yeah, what can you really say about it, really? Planetary unification, the standard one go. Powered exoskeletons. Some of the icons seem to have been redrawn as well to look a lot cooler, because they seem to be too small before, which is kind of nice. Or at least maybe they were vectors and then scaled up or something. The cosmology one is new, I think, because this is normally under the F5 menu, with planet sectors and expansion planners being rolled into the cosmographics menu with a bunch of surveyable stuff, and this is 1.7, so we already know what these worlds are, or at least what types of worlds they are, and what it costs to colonize them with good old frontier outposts as well. This is an interesting one, because there's a drop-down menu here. So I had a chat with Morgord about this, Daniel, who's one of the game designers over at Paradox. Basically, why it's a drop-down and not like a scroll thing is because you will always need to go through the confirmation window as well, so the amount of clicking involved is similar. Traditions are here, of course. It does not appear that Ascension perks are in this particular version due to it being 1.7. Ascension perks in the base builds were not added until post-Synthetic Dawn, because I threw a bit of a shit fit about machine worlds being locked behind Ascension perks, and you kind of need to buy 2 expansions in order to get machine worlds and that sort of thing. Good news, Traditions, it looks like Discovery is still hilariously broken, which is great, and Traditions, of course, are fairly standard here. Leaders, all that stuff. Well, let's take a look at the ship designs and how all this stuff works. This interface is, of course, the classic one, and a lot of the stuff has been moved around to make it a little bit more sense for a console build. So we got all the menus here and what sort of stuff and what kind of ship classes you want, and autocomplete is there, and really streamlining stuff for a console user base, which is kind of important. Also, it's very clear what the cost is and power, something that you would normally see on the right side of the screen in the ship designer. And there's also the Federation designer in here. That's different. I'm not entirely sure if the ship designer has a Federation designer in the main build of the game. Fascinating. There's a war button and Federation button. They don't do anything at the moment because we obviously aren't in one. Map modes, all that stuff. We should probably go towards the galaxy screen. There we go. Alright, cool. What do we got here? Yep, okay, let's go to the map modes. They're all here. This game is all, by the way, only hyperlanes in this particular version. I know that the hyperlanes only system was only added to the game in 2.0, but in this particular port, 1.7 is hyperlanes only. You may have noticed that during the game setup when there was no FTL available. So let's go to planetary tiles, or at least the outlier. We got some stuff going on here. Science ships, this is all pretty standard stuff. The rally points at the start of the game should probably disable the Unity one. You can disable the outlier. That's always useful. Okay, let's get this bad boy a spin. Let's see what we can do here with this particular game and see how it feels. I think that's important as well. Let's build a science ship as soon as we can. Funnily enough, because the defensive system is not actually in this game in terms of building stations and all that stuff. So that is kind of fun. But yeah, this is still definitely working with stations where you can build everything from. Here's the planetary interface. We should probably build a science ship at some point. Army interface. This is kind of cool. Combat, orbit, atmosphere, and ground is huge here. They don't actually do anything. Also, apocalyptic orbital bombardment is an option as well. And I'm pretty sure that only was added in Apocalypse. So there's a lot of nitty and gritty details here that feel like they're only from Apocalypse and have been added to the 1.7 version of the game. Let's get a science ship underway and see how all this stuff works. Okay, so we can chain order stuff here to survey the system with the square button. It takes a little while to get used to a lot of these controls because I'm not really a console player. But let's queue all of this stuff up here. This is basically classic stuff, and obviously I cannot hit shift because there's not a keyboard. But let's go and survey all of this stuff and see what we can find. As you also can see, there's no clusters in the galaxy here either, so there is it's definitely 1.7. Spaceports, science ship done, classic stuff. This is really the classic version of Stellaris in my book. Pre 2.0, everything is there that you would want to. We can scout with fleets. That's been removed now as well. So such joy. We should probably try to split these up in a little bit as well to see if that still works. Probably. Let's split these bad boys up here and just send them out somewhere else. But yeah, because currently only science ship can at least explore, and this is not always the case, as you can see right now in this version of the game, which is kind of amusing. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, let's split this up one more time. Okay, cool. So we can get a third one. So we can really go with the quote-unquote classical approach here and really have a bit of a bash. Alright, our first anomalies, pop-ups, all that stuff. This is still with the old failure risk system, where you would still need to go for... where anomalies could fail and they didn't take time like they do in 2.0. Which is kind of cool, or at least in 2.1, because Distant Stars added that, I believe. Let's add a scientist here. Yeah, cool. It's a little bit clunky, I found, adding a new scientist. You need to go through the Manage menu rather than the first menu. Which is a little bit awkward. We already found some UFOs. Cool. So let's just chain these together here like we would normally do. And just queue them all up. There we go. Secrets at the doorstep, old probes, blah de blah. It's just a standard event chain here for the human commonwealth, the Commonwealth of Man. So the Chrysantium and all that stuff. So we can research some first contact protocols here. There they are in the Zilla system. We know it's there. We just haven't seen them yet.
Situation log updated.
So habitable world survey. I will do a proper tutorial in the game once it's done. This is more of a first impression sort of scenario. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So what should we do next, really? Let's play a little bit more, and then we'll switch over towards a save game that's a little bit further in, just to see how performance is running. I didn't tell this earlier on, by the way, but there's 3 speeds in the game, or technically 4. There is, well, 3. There is stop, normal, and fast. There's no faster in the console build, because faster basically means that your CPU is running at maximum speed, basically as fast as the game can handle itself. So the amount of speed that you're seeing here is pretty much the maximum that the PlayStation version will put out, which is a bit of a shame. And playing this game on console is definitely going to be a long-term endeavor, let's put it that way. Of course, in Stellaris, especially back in 1.7, all of the joy and wonder is all about the start of the game with all the anomalies and stuff like that, but we shall see. Really curious how that is going to pan out. We seem to have found a thing. Well, we're going to build some mining stations first, so we can just queue these all together once again with the square button.
System survey complete.
Lot of habitable worlds here. Quite nice. But yeah, I was the developers had a showcase with me, like talking about how it's a bringing grand strategy to a new audience that doesn't necessarily own a console and all that stuff, which is I think is quite an interesting endeavor, and the support from the community in general has been surprisingly positive, apparently. Yeah. Which is good, because, you know, the more people that can play the joy of grand strategy games, the more, you know, the more love and stuff we have in the world. Alright, let's take a look around here. So, we made first contact, we get 40 influence. What's up, you alien scum? Cool. You should assume the worst, as they are. Xenos, there they are. But, yeah, let's get in a non-aggressive pact, just in case they are stronger. Trade negotiations, still different. We can do star charts and all that stuff. This is what they think of us. Basically, there's just been a reshuffle of the UI to make it a little bit clearer on a larger screen and not drown out all the UI and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, the cursor is apparently something they worked on for quite some time, just indicating where stuff is pointing. So you can just look around and yeah, basically go crazy with that. As we can basically just go around the entire galaxy and just send our ships around just for the big old loop over here. And the cursor itself seems to be fairly dynamic when it comes to being able to handle all of that stuff, which is kind of cool. Let's move our fleet back. Let's take a look at how fleet mechanics work with this particular version of the game, like merging fleets and all that stuff, and multi-selecting, because obviously we can't shift select and all that. So we need to kind of figure out how to do that. I wasn't quite sure of how to do it, so let's take a look how that is done. Ooh, one of my scientists is leveled. Always nice. So we need to put our monument on here. I don't think we can actually move any pops. Not entirely sure if that is possible or not, but if it is, it's not very clear. But this is obviously a very early build of the game when it comes to yeah, it's showcasing. It's not gonna get released for a while, from what I understand. But yeah, like I mentioned, all the UI has basically been redesigned to still fit with the same sort of style that the vanilla game has on PC, but kind of work with a larger interface. Everything is very big indeed. It's almost like you're playing with a 720p version of the UI, which is kind of weird. For those that have ever played Crusader Kings 2, the UI, if you play it in 720 versus 1080, is very weird. At least from the builds that I used to play. It's been quite a while since I played Crusader Kings. But 720 is effectively unplayable. And 1080 is pretty much the only way to go. But yeah. Still, it's a fascinating little experience. And the camera makes it look good. I'm actually really surprised how well the game seems to be running on this system. Of course, it's early years on this, so it's not much stuff is gonna happen.
Construction complete.
20% failure risk, and we have made first contact with the UNE. Well then, they're not gonna like us much, probably because of slavery policy, I want to say. Not entirely sure. We can't just click on the system and make first contact. We actually talk to them. We actually need to go through the communications window in order to talk to them, which is a bit of a hassle. They don't like us because... Let's take a look here. Slavery policy, -30. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we should probably turn that off. So let's go towards the menu, the policies menu, to take care of that. Just trying to make my way around here. Oh, well, 20%, I guess. Society, there we go. So, policies, slavery, prohibited. Perfect. Cool. Oh, okay. Oh god. Oh god, okay, so we just lost one of our ships to the old guard. So the pirates are definitely here. Very quickly. The icons for any sort of indications are no longer at the top of the screen hanging off of the energy bar or at least the mineral or resource bar, whatever you want to call it. They're actually at the bottom of the screen, next to the timer, which is one of the big differences here when it comes to the UI. Obviously, the outliers here. And some of the other stuff as well. Oh boy, it's Blork Contact. Let's see if we can merge these fleets together. Okay, it's merge. Okay, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. Okay. I'm trying to work my way through here, see how this actually works. Hold on. It's not particularly clear. Let's just move the fleet a little bit closer. No, merge still doesn't work. Okay. We're gonna figure this out. Don't you worry about it. So multi-selects. No. Multi-selects. Multi-selects. Okay, add. No. Okay, no. Multi-selects. Okay, it still doesn't work. Okay, hold on. Let's try it one more time. So, and then, okay, so multi-select, and then add. Okay, and then finalize with the square button. Okay, now go to okay, so that's how you merge fleets. Okay, that's okay, so instead of just having to click one button in the UI, we have to go to manage and then... Okay, that's a bit of a hassle. Let's hope that's going to be ironed out in the final version of the game. Interesting little approach. Let's adopt Discovery here. That's probably a good way of doing things. Alright, you know what? Let's take a look at another game here. Oh wow, this loading button is cool. What do we got available here? What's the latest one we got in our list? The Lyrite Star Polity. Let's load that bad boy up. See what we can find. Surprisingly fast loading times, considering the sizes of some of these maps here. Let's quickly zoom out and see what we got. That seems to be fine. Bunch of first contact situations here. It looks like whoever was playing this does not expand very proactively here. Okay, that's the resource icon. Diplomatic. Okay. Okay, we should be good now. Okay, cool. So this is this galaxy. It's a medium size with 2 arms. Or no, this is actually a large one with 4. Okay, that's kind of cool. But we appear to be relatively tiny. Let's take a look at the upgrade system here. Let's build a monument. Yeah, okay. Well, that physics research can go and screw itself. Okay, so upgrading and building is all still fairly straightforward. Let's see, upgrades. Okay. There's no clicking of any arrows at the top of the screen. I hope that there is going to be an instant upgrade button at some point, because this is going to be extremely tedious with this version of the game. I really hope they're going to iron that out and maybe update the game to the new updated system that comes out with 2.2, Le Guin. Because especially for a game like this, it should be better navigable while still being deep and complex as it is in the main game, or at least as it appears to be. I got some tech here. Hyperlink breach. Okay. Scientists available. Blah blah. Expansion unlocked. Let's go for discovery. As we should. Cool. But yeah, interesting to see how a larger galaxy works as well. Sadly, I don't have access to the quote-unquote console or cheat menu, as some people would call it. So I can't actually mature the galaxy manually or anything like that. I also don't know if there's going to be any cross-play between consoles and PC. Most likely not, because of the 1.7 barrier and slightly different versions of it. Let's get this Gaia planet colonized. But yeah, a lot of resources around here, so we should probably get these resources sorted. Yeah, let's just do that. So let's just... Chaining stuff is actually really easy. So that is at least nice. And fairly fluent as well. That's good. Let's not build a frontier outpost. We can do that right there. So frontier outposts are a thing in this particular version of the game. So, yeah. So, Stellaris Console Edition. I think it's a fascinating approach. I think it's a fascinating way of dealing with the game, and especially, sure, the UI still feels a little bit clunky here and there, and it's definitely a work in progress, and it's going to take a while for all this stuff to be finalized, and there's still a lot of tweaking going on from what I understand, but I think it's already in a very good place when it comes to potentially reaching out to console users that don't necessarily have played a lot of strategy titles. I know that, for instance, Command & Conquer has come out, Halo Wars on console, Civilization as well. So that's kind of cool. See, now I can very quickly merge a fleet. So I'm learning. It's getting there. Okay, so let's take a look at our planets. Planet, no governor. Okay, oh, please don't tell me that there's the multiple governor system still in this. Oh god. Oh, okay, that is a bit bad. Okay. So, this is the version before one leader for your core world, so you wouldn't waste all your leadership boxes on your core worlds. That's something they're gonna need to do something about, because that is, in my opinion, a really big no-no. Not having enough leaders available was very much a problem with this version of the game. Fascinating. But yeah, aside from that, I think it's going in the right direction, with a little bit of tweaking here and there and some updates from the main version of the game. I think Stellaris Console Edition will be in a good place, and it's really a big question on whether or not it's actually going to find its niche, so to speak. There's a large amount of people out there that are looking to play for games like this on platforms that are available to them, whether or not it's console or not. But for me, myself, this is not going to be my primary system to play on. Sure, I will do tutorials for it and all that stuff, because 1.7 kind of comes in as it's like putting on an old shoe and all that stuff. But it's an interesting approach, and it's gonna take a while for me to really wrap my head around it. Would I play it? Like I said, not proactively. Do I think it's an exciting new look at the genre? Yes. But the question remains whether or not it's going to succeed or not, and that's something that I'm very curious about. It works very well. It's not nearly as clunky as I thought it would be, as on older strategy titles where the UI was incredibly clunky. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. You get used to it fairly quickly, and even then you can customize it fairly well, which is very, very cool. Anyway, we're going to go and wrap up this impressions video for Stellaris Console Edition, made by Tantalus in cooperation with Paradox Development Studio and Paradox Interactive. The console port available for PlayStation and I believe Xbox as well at some point in the near future. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and please put your feedback down below to see what you feel about this particular expansion. Don't give me any of this PC Master Race bullshit. Just be legit about it. It's always good to see people speaking their minds while not being sarcastic with memes and all that stuff. So let's keep that out there. Anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves and, as always, each other.